Okay, so got a few things going on with the truck, so I figured what the heck, I'd record myself. So one of the issues I have is the fact that the window motor isn't working on the passenger side here. So I have to dig into here and take the truck apart. Fun. Luckily, taking something like this apart is pretty easy. Just some basic hand tools and pop the door off. It's nothing hard, just inconvenient. So I've got these two screws out. Looking to see if there's anything else need to pop off here. Doesn't feel like it. I think it's time to consult the manual. Okay, so looking at, I have to take this panel here off, which isn't hard. I just need a cloth or an X headrest cover. So you can see it kind of does start to damage if you're not careful. That's why you need this or a rag in general. And again, there is a proper tool for this. I just don't have it. Just like that. And there we go. Pops up. So again, you take a screwdriver and just go right there, and it pops up. This comes out. So looking at it, my first thought was maybe the switch came out right here, but there's really, I don't see anything that indicates that at all. So we're going to have to go deeper. And there is a hidden screw right here too. So you have to pop this off. Imagine it's supposed to pop off here. So it's probably not being nice. There, it just pulls off. These clips just are really tight. So it just takes some force, unfortunately. Kind of scary because you think you'll break the damn thing. But you're not. Also some massively long screws. There we go. And that's it. There's only 5 screws and that was it. 3 behind, well, 1 behind here, and then 2 more behind here. 1 going in here, and 1 going in here. So to make this a little bit faster, I'm just going to pop this out. There we go. And then this is just a door lock switch. I'm not too concerned about this one. And when you pop stuff like this out, be careful. I mean, you're already dealing with an old truck. There we go. And there's a little tab right here that you push in to pull out of the switch. So I'm taking the switch out so I can play with it when I put the power on. In the meantime, the rest of this just pops off. Here we go. And you want to grab it by the clip when you try and pull this out. Otherwise, it'll rip out, which I'm pretty sure I've already done. Okay. There we go. And these are the little clips. Usually by the time you get one out, they all start coming with it. Usually. Just like that. And that's all of them. Now this should pull out. Where being here, it should. Yeah, here it goes. Just like that. Again, just simple clips. Now the whole panel just lifts up. Supposed to lift up. There it goes. Okay, now you slide your wires through here. So I'm looking at it now, just looking for any evidence of, you know, something being pulled out, but I really don't see anything. Now, if you're worried about this sticky stuff, don't really be too concerned about it. It'll actually stick back to itself, amazingly. So the sticky black stuff here. In the meantime, I have to pull this mess off to reach the window motor in here. So probably just better off doing this. I've seen people take a razor blade to this. I'm just being lazy. All this is here for is just to prevent water from getting into the interior. Keep this moving. Oops. Like I said, even after almost 20 years, it's still sticky. Meantime, I think I'm at where I really need to be anyway. Just gonna slide the switch through this part of the plastic, get it out of the way. And there's the motor. So, let's see if it works. So, I don't feel the motor trying to move at all. Let's see if it gets power. And I'll grab the multimeter. Let's just see if it's being sent any power. If it is, we can already eliminate the fact that it's the motor. So let's try this first. And luckily, it actually tells you which is positive and negative on here. So that's nice. Put you in there. Put you in there. Now you're getting power. And I am getting power. So that tells me that the issue is actually with the motor because it's working all the way to the switch. So I know what I have to get for this thing now. It's a power window motor. Hopefully it's not terribly expensive. Okay, I don't know if the camera can pick this up or my microphone can pick this up, but maybe if I turn it up a little bit. There it is. So there's something definitely in the scroll cage. As to what it is, I don't know. I'm going to have to open this up, which doesn't look like it's going to be too hard. Let me get the seat set back so I have room. This fat guy. There we go. So let's see. How did you get to the squirrel cage in this truck? And by squirrel cage, I'm referencing the fan, which is in here. This definitely has to come off first. Feel this out. See where there's any like bolts or anything in here. Just feel like there's a simple hinge. And there is. Try to get under here a little more. Ah, that's what those are for. Okay. So yes, it does. Just pop out like that. It should just drop out now. Yes, there we go. Okay, let me show you what I just pulled out. These go into the sides and actually connect in here. So it just fits right in there. And this is what the actual hinge for the glove box is. That's interesting. I like that idea. Now it looks like it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe just 5 screws. That's nice. And yes, the little secure latch, or the little latch is going to come out too. But again, it's just 2 screws. Should just be as simple as pulling this out. Should be being the key word here. Ah, there we go. This has to come out. There we go. Now, we'll set this to the side. This is a squirrel cage. So let's pull that out. Looks like it's 3 bolts. I may have to take this out too. But let's see where I get. Finally found out what size these are. They're 8mm. Couldn't find my 1/4 inch stuff because, as usual, somebody probably borrowed it and didn't bring it back. Oh well. I found an 8mm, my 3/8 drive. So we're good. And yeah, I gotta take this out. And that's up there. Okay. So take your bets. What are we finding here? Piece of trash? Dead squirrel? Could be anything causing that noise. Love my neighbors. Always gotta make noise with their motorcycle. And don't get me wrong, I like motorcycles. Just don't be annoying with them. You guys have it rough because not a lot of people see you, but don't need to hear you all the time. And here we go. So there it is. Twigs and leaves. Just taking a listen to the bearing there. Spins nice, doesn't make any noise, so that's good. Trying to make sure there's nothing else in here. Yep, nothing. So I'll put this back in. You know, it always amazes my non-mechanic friends when I just jump into something. I don't have a repair manual and just jump in and try and start working on stuff. Now for electrical stuff, I do, but stuff like this, most every vehicle is built the same. Domestic, import, doesn't barely matter. Now don't get me wrong, a manual is good to have. You should always have a manual, and it makes things easier. But is it necessary? Not really. As long as you've done this work before, it's usually common sense. You've done it a few times for other vehicles, and you realize how similar a lot of these vehicles are. And it has a lot to do with the fact that all these vehicles have the same manufacturer for a part. You know, Nissan doesn't necessarily make this blower motor. It's probably the same blower motor it's in a Ford or Dodge or a Chevrolet. So once you see this enough, you know that, well, if it's this way for one truck, it's pretty much this way for another truck as well. Or at least it's a very good possibility. But when in doubt, always use a manual. Now, When you're tightening these bolts down, remember, these are going back into plastic, and old plastic on top of that. You don't want to over tighten these things. So once you feel it go tight, stop. Okay, I'm feeling it tight. I'm stopping right there. Tight, don't go any further. Tight and don't go any further. If you go too far, you do stand a chance of breaking this or breaking your squirrel cage. Also, don't forget to hook this back up. This little tube right here. This sends air to the motor, keep it cool. And then, of course, plug your connection back in. Don't laugh, I have done that. Get all the way to this point because you're tired in the middle of the day and you forget to put this back in. I have done it. And it's happened to a lot of people too. Sometimes these things can be filling. There we go. And it does go one way, so you want to be sure you put it in the right way. That's it, everything's done. So now let's put this back in, and there's still a noise. And it's in the motor. So I have a fan going bad. So I took it further apart, and unfortunately it's a motor. It's better than what it was. I think some of it was a little bit of dirt and corrosion. So I took it apart, took it completely apart, including removing the actual cage itself, and pulled the motor out of its housing. And I couldn't feel anything, and now that I've put it back in, so I think it's got a bearing going bad. So that means not only do I need a window motor, but I also need a fan blower motor. Well, what can you say? It's how it works sometimes. And that kind of sucks. Yeah, I was kind of hoping both would be something very simple, a quick and easy fix that I could show you guys, and it turns out, no, I gotta wait till I can get a blower motor and a window motor for the passenger door. Yeah, it could be worse. It could be that it could have been a driver's side window switch, because that's not cheap. Even getting the aftermarket one made for this truck would be expensive. So the hopeful part is that I can just get a blower motor and a window motor for fairly cheap. As you saw, they're not too terribly difficult to get to. And you know, those sticks and those leaves that were in the blower motor, I could have very easily have said that was it. And usually it is. Now, unfortunately, this time it wasn't. It was, in fact, that the blower motor just is going bad. But I will say this, the noise in the blower motor isn't as bad as it was. So taking it out, knocking it around, cleaning it a little bit, that's helped a little bit, but it's not the full problem. But as you can see, diagnosing stuff, it's not that hard. And for the most part, taking vehicles apart to try and do repairs are usually pretty straightforward. Again, it doesn't matter if it's a Nissan, a Chevrolet, a Ford, a Dodge. A lot of the parts that are used in these vehicles are pretty much the same throughout their lifetime. Like that blower motor can very easily be something that fits on a Dodge or a Ford or anything else. It doesn't necessarily just fit on a Nissan. A lot of these parts are sourced and made by the same 3 or 4 different parts companies. You know, Nissan doesn't make that blower motor anymore. So that's why taking these cars apart can be pretty similar. If you're familiar with one, you can generally find your way to another. And that's why, because all these parts have become not necessarily standardized, but they have become not as unique as they used to be. So a little bit later tonight, I'll check out and see how much those parts are, and we'll see how easy they are to afford.